What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another segment of HR Heretics. Today, we're going to talk about two things. The first is candidates cheating on interviews with AI. And the second is the prevalence of fake candidates. So let me set the scene, Kelly. So the first with candidates cheating on AI, there is now multiple software companies who provide a co-pilot to candidates that are interviewing over Zoom. And essentially what happens is the interviewer will ask a question and the co-pilot listens to that question and then spits out an answer for the candidate to read. And so Alan Price, who's the head of recruiting at Deal, just blasted it to his entire network being like, has anyone seen this? Like, does anyone want to talk about this and get a webinar together? 150 talent leaders responded to him saying yes. So I think it's happening a lot more often. I think talent leaders are starting to become aware of it. What is your take on these candidates that are cheating in interviews with AI?
Yeah, I don't know about you all out there, but I just told Nolan before I started recording, all this makes my head want to explode because I feel like overnight, everything has gotten really complicated, really complex. I know we'll talk about, fake candidates next, but all this together, it makes my head want to explode. It really does. And look, I think cheating has been something, it's been there forever. Do you know what I mean? Like cheating in school when I was 12 years old, people did it. So this is, I think, a new version of, something that's always been out there, but this is extremely powerful. People now they'll be on Zoom calls and they'll have Chat GPT up and just be right as the meeting's going on, use it very quickly. So, I know we talked about, is there a way, the question is there a way to stop this or detect it? Again, more and more people are getting so savvy around these tools that are very, very intelligent. So it's going to be really difficult. But for me, Nolan, we should talk about this because, and then there's the human element. I can do well and I can use AI and I can cheat on interviews. What happens when I start working?
Yeah.
What?
I have a few.
You know what I mean? Fake it until you don't perform, or you shouldn't get it's very difficult for me to connect those two.
Yeah, I'm of two minds here. So one is interviews are insanely high stakes, right? And they're very competitive, especially in today's world where there are just fewer jobs and more competitive talent for those roles. And so I feel like it is obviously unfair if someone is using something like this. The craziest part, Kelly, is I've seen some of these videos, some of these videos on TikTok have gotten 10 million views. And it's basically somebody coming into somebody's apartment and it's oh, my brother is cheating on his interview with Goldman Sachs. And the camera kind of looks at the brother who's talking on Zoom to the interviewer. And you can see the co-pilot app up, listening to the interviewer ask the question and then spit out the answer. And then the guy reads it as the answer. So I one, it's clearly unfair to the pipeline. Two, it's seriously, if you're an interviewer and you can't tell somebody's reading something off the screen, I think you have a problem. That said, I think it's going to continue to get even better and better, right? I can imagine wearing headphones and actually having the answer being told into my headphones and then spoken out to the interviewer to where you can't even tell.
Quarterback, right? With the plays.
You just can't even tell.
The helmet.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my first thought is I do think there is going to be some detection software that companies are going to have to start thinking about. My second thought is, if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. And I kind of first of all, if an interviewer is so dumb, this AI is not that great yet, right? Everyone's seeing this, there's definitely holes in it.
Yeah.
And so if you're just reading directly off of AI, there's gonna be some major holes in the things that you're saying.
Yes.
And so if the company is not smart enough to detect that without some sort of a detection system, the company is just dumb. But the other piece is, I want people to be AI native. I want people leaning into the most recent technology. And so there is certainly a moral and fairness and meritocratic issue here. But I think we are in this era of displacement to where everything's being turned on its head with AI, and people are trying to figure out like, well, how can I use it to my advantage?
Yeah,
So
I love it. I love it. Nolan's appreciating the hustlers out there. Hey, if you're not using this, you're behind the times. So you're not a good candidate. I was thinking about this, and I go, to like what can AI not displace? Like, at least at the moment, maybe one day it will, that I think we might accent more on because of this phenomenon, right? So the how of the person, right? Like how they work, what they care about, their values. Do you viscerally connect with this human being? I think you can accent more on those elements of an interview, right? I mean, it'd be pretty hilarious if I asked you about kind of some character, value, and you're reading AI and AI answer. So I think you might have more accent on, right, the soft pieces, if you will, or whatnot. Second, more questions that are difficult for AI to answer at the moment with a lot of kind of backing behind it, right? More questions about your personal experiences. Literally what you did in a deep manner at companies you were at, right? Almost like the top grading method, right, of interviewing. Like, take me through and unpack your journey, your whys, your this, that's more difficult as far as like ChatGPT, why did I leave this company and what did I learn? Like, so I think you're going to see more accent on those types of things. We talked about work trials a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have a hologram, it's pretty hard to have a work trial.
That's a really good point. I think, I hadn't thought about that direct line, but I think you're exactly right, which is I do think we're going to see more simulation type of interviews to detect these sorts of things. We've always said on this show that we think interviewing is bullshit. And so, like, it's so performative. There's so many errors. Like, nobody's actually really good at it. And so the best way to actually assess somebody is through a simulation or some sort of work trial. And it could be that moment. This could be the moment of like, well, we got to do it because now everyone's cheating or everyone has access to should cheat these interviews, which could be net positive for companies and state.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors.
Real talk, most talent leaders haven't yet cracked how to leverage AI for meaningful impact on their hiring processes and business goals. But the leaders who are effectively using AI to transform their recruiting team's efficiency and quality use Metaview. Metaview is the AI assistant for the interview process. Their AI records and transcribes hiring conversations, like intakes, interviews, and debriefs, then provides perfectly summarized notes of everything that was discussed. That means your people can focus on creating human connections with candidates during calls and save time on the busy work of cleaning up notes after every interview. But it's so much more than just a time saver, because perfect notes means perfect data. For every candidate in every pipeline, hiring teams can make confident, informed decisions, and talent leaders can finally take control of the interview process. Join forward-thinking talent leaders at high-performing organizations like Brex, HelloFresh, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts, or get started for free. You'll be up, running, and AI-enabled in minutes. I was thinking, like, if I was leading TA right now, like, you got to be smart about AI. You have to know what's out there and use it in different ways. And I would really start to start creating more quality experiences, if you will, more deep types of interviews that talk about things that AI can't cheat on immediately. And to your point, that might, as an industry, that you might see things slow down because of that. You might see, quality versus quantity and speed. So those are things that might come out of this. And then I was thinking of what could be tough about that. And, thinking about the hustler mindset and the lazy way, if you hire someone, then you get around the whole thing. Like, that's my concern, is that, and we all know that referrals, hiring people we know, bias, homogeneous, like, cultures, like, that might be a bad byproduct of this, because if I've worked with you for 10 years or know you from college, I can hire you and you're not a fake candidate. You're probably not cheating. Like, unless, and so you might see more of these incestual type of situations And that's not good for diversity and all those things. So that's my fear.
Wow. I hadn't considered it.
Really bringing it today.
I hadn't considered it, and I think you're totally right. The other thing I'll just say that that you validate that you just said is, Sam Altman, when they were asking him, like, what is going to be the hardest thing to replace with AI, they said it's like the soft skill stuff.
Yeah.
Like all the hard skill, like the math people are getting crushed right now because AI is like making them more effective. My engineering team told me, Kelli, they're using Cursor now, and it's helping them write 40 to 60% of their code.
That's crazy.
It's
I
nuts.
love how we just coined them the math people. That is hilarious. And I want to hat.
That's what Sam said.
That says
that's
math.
What Sam said.
The math people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I could just sum it up, it's what can AI not defend against, right? What do we still have? And I think you'll see more of that infiltrating into these processes.
I agree. Okay, let's talk about the second piece here, which is fake candidates. So I have a friend who does agency recruiting, and he texted me last week and he goes, Nolan, you got to cover fake candidates. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, fake candidates? And he goes, there's this phenomenon that's happening right now to where it's primarily, it looks like Asian men who are interviewing with tech companies. They all have like these it looks like stellar resumes on LinkedIn. They worked at Apple or Meta or Amazon, and they're getting these interviews. And it turns out like they're complete liars, but they are actually pretty good interviewers. And I was like, what is the possible reasoning for this?
Just to stop you in case anyone's confused, are these real humans?
They're real humans.
Fake candidates?
They're real humans, but they are lying about their backgrounds. And the theory is that they're doing this with multiple companies, so they're getting multiple jobs simultaneously. And as I've gone deep now down the Reddit hole on this is a problem. And the theory is it's either the CCP trying to infiltrate tech companies, or it's North Korea basically trying to fund their government. So what's your take on that?
I mean, I thought my head was exploding at the first part of this.
Isn't this wild?
So, yeah, I mean, look, okay, just to go full foundation, how are they fucking getting hired? How, like, don't we check the employment records with the name? Like, how
well,
is
what
this...
do you mean employment records? Like, you do reference checks. You do background checks.
You do reference. Did they work here? Did they work at this company? Are they in the system? I mean, if you don't do that now, it's gonna start. Hey, Meta, was Nolan Church an employee in your HRIS system?
I think the thing we're getting at in this episode is that many companies actually have awful recruiting practices, and people are starting to exploit them.
Yeah. So you used the word earlier, we're getting displaced, and this is I think we're in a churn like period right now where we're crossing this bridge between the old world and the new world. And to your point, I think the new world's going to have a lot more security controls. Did you work at these places? I think that's going to be a no-brainer. And one day it'll be, are you a real person?
So so you're actually talking about a term called proof of personhood. And I kind of thought this thing was like a joke a couple years ago when I was I was hearing people talk about this. It's literally a thing. So there's a company called WorldCoin who is offering crypto if you scan your iris. Like, that's how you get access to your wallet. And they've actually expanded into other products because of that thing, because they're worried AI is going to impersonate humans in the future.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and there's going to be, Elon's talking, there's going to be robots. Like, every human's going to have 3 robots, like one companion, one friend, absolutely. I think we're going to see a lot of practices changing coming out because of this to, I don't know, like, keep control. Right? Create boundaries for all this stuff that's coming at very warp speed. And it's good in a lot of ways, and it's terrifying in a lot of ways. And that's the point, right? That's what everyone's saying about AI is be careful what you wish for, right? Don't run around with scissors. Be prepared when this comes. And that's what we're talking about, is some of this stuff we are not prepared. So
We are not. Yeah, it's honestly like an expect the unexpected situation.
yeah,
And
people are smart. People are smart. Like they have
yeah,
technology. They're smart. They sit around here all day thinking about the holes and how to exploit. And
yeah, it does feel like we're crossing the chasm though of now technology is finally smarter than us, or at least it's approaching that aspect. And that's the thing I don't think most people are comfortable with yet, obviously. And we're leading to these sorts of behaviors. So look, we're in a weird time in the world.
yeah,
Ping me and
yeah,
Kelly. I appreciate the listeners who pinged us this week with these two stories because I didn't think they were serious at first. And the deeper I went down the rabbit hole, the more I learned that these are like now very serious concerns.
well, that's
So
my biggest takeaway
yeah,
for the group here, all of us friends. Like I love to say this when I give feedback to people. Awareness is the first step. Like you got to be aware. Like the
yeah,
fact that we didn't know this was a thing. Like I think
yeah,
I'm gonna start reading a little bit more here.
yep. All right, everybody, have a good one. Thanks.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.